It's so easy to get excited about these complex data models, the fancy algorithms, all the cool tech, but honestly, the success of any data project really boils down to just one thing. Are you solving the right problem? That's the crucial first step we're going to master today, the art of data task discovery. And this quote just says it all. I mean, think about it. You can have the most amazing data, the most brilliant team on the planet, but if you're pointing all that firepower in the wrong direction, you're not going to end up anywhere valuable. Figuring out what to analyze is probably the single most important decision you're going to make. So, what exactly is this task discovery thing? Let's just cut through the jargon. It's the job of finding money-making problems, real issues that your data can actually help solve. It's all about turning those endless rows of data into actual tangible business value. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the two core philosophies for finding these problems. Then we'll see how to blend them together for the best results. After that, we'll walk through a practical 6-step blueprint, figure out how to pick a winning project from a list of good ideas, and we'll wrap up with a final checklist to make sure you're ready to go. Okay, so when it comes to finding these valuable problems, you'll find the people usually fall into two main camps. There's the top-down approach, and then there's the bottom-up approach. Let's dig into what that actually means. The main difference here is really just the starting point. The top-down approach, well, it starts at the top. It begins with high-level business strategy, those big company KPIs. This is usually driven by management. Now, the bottom-up approach is the total opposite. It starts from the ground floor, with the raw data itself, and with the problems that analysts and frontline employees are seeing every single day. Let's make this a little more concrete. A classic top-down goal would be something big and strategic, like we need to reduce customer churn. The data task that comes from that is pretty clear: build a churn prediction model. Now, a bottom-up discovery, that's much more granular. An analyst might be looking at call center logs and notice, hey, why do complaints spike every Tuesday afternoon? The task isn't about some grand strategy. It's a super specific operational fix, like analyzing wait times to reallocate staff. So, as you can probably guess, each approach has its own pros and cons. Top-down projects? They're great because they're directly tied to the company's main goals, which makes getting executive buy-in way easier. The risk, though, is that they can be totally disconnected from the reality of your data. On the flip side, bottom-up projects are fantastic because they're grounded in what's actually happening and can lead to quick wins. The downside? They might solve a small problem without really moving the needle on the company's biggest goals. So if top-down can be unrealistic and bottom-up might not be strategic enough, what's the solution? Well, it's pretty intuitive. You combine them. You create an integrated approach where you get the best of both worlds. And this is the key insight, really. The most powerful and successful data teams don't pick a side. They blend both of these philosophies into a kind of continuous cycle where one feeds the other. Here's what that looks like in the real world. You start with a big top-down goal from leadership, something like, we need to improve overall customer satisfaction. Okay, great, but how? That's where you use a bottom-up action. You dive into the customer complaint data to find the biggest, most common pain points. And boom, what you get is a project that's not only strategically important to the C-suite, but is also totally grounded in real, available data. Okay, so the theory makes sense, but how do you actually do this? Let's move from theory to practice and walk through a concrete 6-step blueprint you can use to discover your next great data project. Here's the roadmap. It all starts with exploration, just talking to people, brainstorming, digging into reports. Then comes definition, where you get super clear on what the problem actually is. Next, and this is crucial, you do a data feasibility check. This is your reality check. Do we even have the data for this? After that, you assess the value, trying to estimate the potential ROI. Once you have a list of valuable, feasible ideas, you move to prioritization. And finally, you create a detailed plan for the project that makes the cut. Now, let's just zoom in on step 2 for a second, because this is where so many projects go off the rails before they even start. Using the SMART framework is what turns a vague wish into a real goal. You see, improve sales isn't a project, it's just a hope. But increase online sales of product X by 15% in Q3 by analyzing and optimizing the checkout process, that is a project. See the difference? It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and it has a deadline. So, if you follow this process, you're probably going to end up with several really good potential projects, which is a great problem to have. But you can't do them all at once. And that brings us to the next critical question. How do you choose the best one to start with? This is a challenge every single data team faces. You've got this list of good ideas, they all seem valuable, but your time and resources are limited. So, how do you make the smart choice? How do you pick the winner? Well, the answer is a simple but incredibly powerful tool, the prioritization matrix. All you do is map out each potential project based on its expected impact versus the effort it's going to take. Now, anything in that bottom right corner, low impact, high effort, you just avoid those. But that top left corner, high impact, low effort, those are your quick wins. And that is absolutely the best place to start. They deliver real value fast and they build incredible momentum for your team. All right, we're almost there. You've selected your winning project. The very last step before you write a single line of code is to build out the perfect project plan using this final checklist. Think of this sheet as your project's entire blueprint. Before you start, you have to be able to answer every single one of these questions, from the background and goal to your hypothesis about what's going on and exactly how you'll measure success. Answering these questions up front, it forces you to be clear, it gets your whole team aligned, and it prevents so much wasted effort down the road. So if you take just one thing away from our time together today, let it be this. This one sentence perfectly captures that ideal integrated strategy. Use those big picture, top-down goals to set your direction, to make sure you're working on something that matters. But then use those data-driven bottom-up findings to fill in the reality and find an actual, actionable path forward. So, I'll leave you with a challenge. Using this framework, what is a high-value problem that you can start solving with the data you have access to right now, today? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me.